Hey guys, Kevin here for the series premiere of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 1, Episode 1. This episode was just called Pilot, and obviously I was looking forward to this show. I really do love The Walking Dead, and honestly, I think this was probably the perfect time for this show to come out. And the reason that, because people were probably wondering, why did Fear the Walking Dead come out now? Well, the Walking Dead writer said the reason it came out now is because if you know, Rick is now, with a group who Rick and the main characters on The Walking Dead are with this group that still has their humanity and are still, they're still kind of civil and things like that. And Rick, of course, isn't used to that. So this is kind of our look, and this is probably the best time to do because the whole show is about kind of like the loss of that. And I think that definitely is very interesting. So obviously I was really looking forward to this show, especially from after the Comic-Con promo dropped. It was hyped out of my mind for it. And I have to say, so far, really didn't disappoint. I thought this episode was fantastic. I loved this premiere. I was really into it. It did what a great series premiere should do. It established the characters, it told us what's going to happen on the show, and gave us an idea of what to expect, and I really did like that. And honestly, I think this episode did have to be 90 minutes because it needed to tell us the story, and let's get into this episode because it was incredible, and I can't wait for the rest of this show. I can already tell this is going to be a really good show. So basically, we start with this character of Nick, and I thought this opening was just fantastic. It really goes with one of the great themes of the show. Right away, you can tell one of the great themes of the show is that there are things that we know that the characters don't know. Of course, we know what's going on, they don't. So we see Nick, he wakes up in this church, and it's basically like this it's a crack house basically, which I think is really interesting that a church is a crack house. And there's this girl, Gloria, who I'm pretty sure he probably had sex with. I'm just assuming they probably slept together. He goes downstairs, he hears screaming and banging, he goes looking around and sees this dead guy with a chunk missing out of his neck. He's horrified, he grands up a metal poker to use as a weapon and heads into the sanctuary whispering Gloria's name, and he spots her with dead eyes eating someone. He falls back in shock, and she comes for him, and this just shows us that, yeah, the virus is out there, but they don't really know what it means yet, and it's just a crazy scene. And basically, she rises with a knife in her chest and eyes white, and basically slowly pursues Nick, and we see him, he's fleeing the church, doing whatever he can to get the hell out of there. He goes into the street, he's hit by a car, and I thought that was a fantastic opening because it perfectly showed us it's going to be a very intense show, and I love that. But then we see our main characters, Madison and Travis, and Alicia. They're the main family, and also Nick. Basically, Madison readies her kids for school. Travis works some pipe despite Madison wanting to call a plumber, and Madison prepares Alicia's breakfast, which Travis says she won't eat because she's gluten-free, before announcing he's fixed the pipe, and he kisses Madison, and the phone rings, and Alicia wanders out in a towel, and the family is obviously concerned. Because we know that Nick is now Madison's son, and basically they go to the hospital. Madison wants to know what her son was doing, but the doctor won't tell her considering he's 18, which I think is really interesting. And I like seeing that despite this virus going on, this family is facing their own problems on their own, which I like seeing. So an old man is brought into Nick's hospital room as the cops interrogate Nick, and they offer Nick a deal to reveal where he scored, but Nick won't cooperate. And Madison arrives, kicks the cops out. She knows that they're just going to cause him more stress, and she doesn't want them there. So she asks Nick exactly what happened and why he's restrained, but he insists that it was all an accident. And Madison wants to send Nick to rehab, and Travis backs her up, which annoys Nick even more. And the family starts arguing, and I like what Nick says, that, he's 18, she can't really do that. Yeah, it's true, he's 18. He makes his own decisions. She can't make them for him anymore. So the family's all arguing, and it's mainly aimed at Travis. What I like about Travis's character is he's in a very awkward position. He's not the father yet, but he is engaged to Madison. So pretty much he treats, Alicia and Nick like his son and daughter, but obviously they don't really see him that way yet. So obviously it's very awkward, and I like seeing this. I think it definitely is interesting. It's kind of something we haven't seen before on this show. So Travis diffused the situation before Alicia leaves the room. His phone rings and he walks out, and Alicia asks if he's glad he moved in, which I thought was pretty funny. So Travis steps outside to call his ex-wife, Liza. Basically, he tells her that Nick is okay, and she sounds like she's experienced in the drug addict department, and Christopher doesn't want to spend the weekend with his father. We meet this character, Chris, and he doesn't want to spend the weekend with his father. And Travis tries to reason with him over the phone, but ultimately tells Liza to keep him because obviously he's being very stubborn. He doesn't want to be there. So I like seeing the different struggles, though, in their life. Like I said, I really like seeing that. So, back in the hospital, Madison tells Travis she has to go back to school to process the college applications and other work of her students, and she also needs to find a facility for Nick in which he isn't yet blacklisted. And Travis says that he can do that. He offers to stay and look after Nick. He insists he signed up for all of this when he fell in love with her, but she tells him not to get sentimental. And I thought that was definitely interesting that we saw that. And basically, Travis says that she just made him throw up in his mouth a little bit, and Alicia gets up with her backpack to go to school, and Madison and Alicia drive to school, and Madison tells Alicia that Nick will be okay, but Alicia doesn't respond. Again, it's something we haven't seen, really seeing these characters in the school. I think it's very interesting because, again, this is all before the apocalypse. So Madison asks Alicia to take out her headphones, which is a small battle, but she wins. I mean, pretty much I think every parent goes through that. I would know because I do that. I'm always listening to my earbuds, like, in the car. My dad, like, wants to talk, and he's like, take those things out of your ears. I can attest to that. So, Alicia says Nick will be okay as long as he's restrained, and Madison wants positivity, but she's getting none from Alicia. You can tell that Alicia just kind of looks at things the way they are. She doesn't try to stay positive, and I kind of like seeing that. So they arrive at the school, and the principal says he thought Madison was going to be out sick today, but she tells him she got her flu shot. She tells him she found Nick and reveals the situation. Basically, a student Tobias walks in and sets off the school's metal detector, which I didn't think schools had metal detectors, but okay, the school's a metal detector apparently. So Madison searches his pockets and claims to have found some change which she took from her own purse, and Madison escorts Tobias to a private room and insists he hand over the knife he brought to school. He does, and she tells him to sit down, and she asks what's going on, but he doesn't want to share. And of course, we know what he's going to say, but of course she doesn't, and this is one of the great things about the show. So she asks if anyone's bothering him and why the knife. He says safer in numbers, but she doesn't understand. And he says that no one's going to college, no one's doing anything that they think they are, before asking for his knife back, which of course he can't have. And he goes on about this virus, but Madison insists if there was a problem, the authorities would tell them. And he gives up and agrees with her before asking to leave and putting her change on the table. And Madison's gonna eventually thank that kid, because obviously he knows what's going on. And I like how there are certain people that know what's going on, but then there are people that's not. I definitely like seeing that. So Alicia joins her boyfriend, Matt, who's painting the walls. She's skipping Spanish class because it's too easy for her. And I like seeing her as like this overachiever, but she does have some flaws, which I definitely like seeing. And this guy, Matt, is like the perfect boyfriend. He really cares about her. He's there for her. And I like seeing the interaction between these two, definitely. So in the hospital, Nick wakes up while Travis sits next to him. Travis tells Nick that he's having a nightmare, and he asks Nick if he thinks he hallucinated. And Nick tells him he wants that to be the case, but nothing like that has happened to him before. And Nick asks to be untied, but Travis won't do it. And he asks Nick what he saw over an apparent bonding moment, and Nick opens up for the first time. He struggles to tell Travis what happened. And he basically says that he buys on the corner and you can shoot the church, and he tells Travis that Gloria was with him when he scored, as he recalls the whole thing. And to the audience, it's clear that Gloria overdosed and woke up a zombie. That basically is what happened to her. But to Nick, it's completely mind-boggling. He doesn't understand what's going on. Because of course, he doesn't know about the whole, Walker situation. So when he went downstairs, everyone was dead, and he tells Travis about the blood all over Gloria's mouth and how she came at him. And Travis is a little skeptical, but asks to hear more. Nick tells Travis that she was eating them, And Travis insists once more was just a hallucination, and that he's very high on drugs, and that's what it's doing to him. Which again is understandable. I like how they're all trying to think of a logical reason, because honestly, no, it doesn't seem logical that something like this would happen. It seems completely irrational that this apocalypse would happen. And it's really interesting to watch, especially when you have The Walking Dead, when they know the apocalypse is happening. This, of course, is a show where they didn't know what's happening, and it hasn't happened yet. So I like seeing that. So Nick is scared that if his mind really did make him see this, if it wasn't really there, he must be insane. He doesn't want to be insane, and Travis then pulls up to the church where Nick got high. He walks in with a flashlight, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to end well. So Madison steps into Nick's hospital room. Nick and the old man in his room are both sleeping, and Travis explores the church. He pulls a door off the wall, finds a terrified junkie who scurries away, screaming, "Don't kill me," and you can tell that this guy knows that there are walkers, and Madison then breaks down at Nick's bedside, and Travis finds blood on a staircase in the church and continues to investigate. He calls out, "Is anyone there?" And there's no response. He uncovers old pieces of the church and explores the chapel, tripping and catching himself in a puddle of blood and guts, and it was really disturbing, but at the same time, really well done. So he knows that something's going on, though. So the next day, Travis and Alicia find Madison sleeping at Nick's side, and Travis tells her she has an hour before the first school bell, and he brought her a change of clothes and tells Nick he'll be right back. And Alicia mocks the moment between Nick and Travis and says their mom is used to disappointment, and she hops on Nick's bed to feed him. And I really like the scene between Nick and Alicia. Nick claims to know what Alicia thinks, saying she believes herself to be perfect, and he's not, and I like what she says, definitely. It really shows that it's a very realistic, she's much smarter than the average teenager, but she basically says that she doesn't compare herself. And she calls Nick crazy, and Nick tells her that he's going to change, and he's ending it now, and he's choosing to. He's trying to not be on drugs anymore, because, again, he could be, in his mind, he saw what he saw, but I think he's kind of thinking maybe Travis is right. Maybe he was hallucinating what was going on. So Madison walks out of the hospital, jokes to Travis, and she says the shoes don't go, and he tells Madison he went to the church and he found something really bad, and Madison says she doesn't care what he found, but Travis wants to support him, and Madison doesn't want to enable him, and claims it was probably a shooting or stabbing, and after all, it is a drug den. So Madison insinuates that the only reason Travis is trying to help Nick is try to repair the damaged relationship with his own son, which very much may be possible. I mean, you can tell that Nick is just trying to be a father to Nick, even when he's not his father. It's a very interesting situation, and you know that Chris absolutely despises his father. He wants nothing to do with him, and so very much that probably is what's going on. So Travis goes back into Nick's room and asks if he needs anything before telling him he'll be seeing the shrink today. He's trying to help him build a relationship, and Nick speaks optimistically about repairing his life. It's a really good scene. I like that he's trying to make a change there. So Alicia and Matt sit high above the school's football field behind the lights. Alicia's looking forward to leaving for college. She can't wait. But Matt isn't looking forward to the long distance, obviously, because they're going in very different directions, and she says she just wants to leave, and I mean, she's pretty much above it. I mean, she's much smarter. She definitely has senioritis. You can tell that she very much has senioritis, and that's very realistic. I mean, I have seniors in my school every year, and every year I've seen they have senioritis, and I definitely can see that. So Matt asks about her brother. She's humbled and worried about him, and Matt tells Alicia if he meets her after school, he can make things better. His parents are out of town. They can meet at the beach, watch the sunset, and go back to his house. They agree on the plan, and he asks Alicia if she likes the staggered, spiraling heart design he just completed on her forearm, and I really like this scene. Like I said, I really do like these two. So Madison enters the school and heads to Travis's class. His student is sleeping while Travis talks about Jack London. And he calls out to this kid who's sleeping, and the student jokes about not caring to build a fire because he has a stove and heat. And Travis leads Russell to the conclusion that London's choices, no matter how gruesome, were to survive. And that very much goes with what they're going to end up having to do. They're going to have to do whatever they can to survive, and I think that very much is interesting. So Madison leaves, heads to the principal's office, and the principal's facing away, and between the music and the camera angles, might turn around as a zombie. I thought that's what was going to happen, but he's alive and well, just listening into the teachers for evaluations, and I like the way they're showing this because you can tell that Madison's starting to get concerned. She doesn't know what's going to happen, and I think she definitely is starting to believe what's going on. So he switches to Travis's room and is pleased. He says Travis says nature always wins. And in Nick's hospital room, he hears the old man beside him struggling to breathe. He asks if the man is okay as a nurse, and as a nurse enters to help, and Nick goes to the bathroom. She tells Nick that she takes her dog out when she wants to, not the other way around. And Nick asks for one hand to be untied, and the nurse abides. And the old man in the bed beside Nick continues to struggle breathing as Nick frees himself and drops the metal pan. Sorry, I could not say that. Nurses rush in for a code blue, which the old man, he's flatlined. They try to revive him to no avail, so they rush him downstairs. And the nurse tells Nick to stay put, but he immediately unties his other hand, falls from the bed before grabbing the old man's belongings, getting dressed, and leaves the room. And I thought that was interesting that he just left. He obviously doesn't want these nurses. He doesn't think he necessarily needs them, and he just wants to leave. So Nick looks around in the hallways and glances through the window of a room next to his. Now, I am going to tell you guys this. If this episode, I think, wasn't 90 minutes, this is probably how it would have ended. That's just kind of how I saw this, is that, if it wasn't 90 minutes, it probably would have ended this way. So Nick looks around the hallways and glances through the window of a room next to his, and it appears to be an older woman stroking the hair of a freshly zombified man, and Nick shrugs it off and looks for a way out of the hospital. And outside in the street, Nick searches the old man's pockets, drops them as there are of no value to him. And Madison and Travis then search for Nick in the hospital. They ask the nurse, who tells them that he left and there was a second death on the floor. And she advises them to call the police and rushes off. And Madison wants to go to the church. And Travis and Madison see missing posters on their way. And Amanda Park, who's walking like a zombie, they pull up and Travis tells Madison to wait in the truck, but she insists on coming inside. Obviously, her main goal is to find her son. That's what she wants to do. So they couldn't just get up and walk away. Travis then analyzes. Madison sees the blood on the floor. They try to convince themselves it's a violent place and nothing abnormal happened here. And the problems are in the genes, according to Madison. And they're trying to come up with rational things here because it just doesn't seem possible that this is all just walkers. So they realize Nick isn't there, but Madison wants to continue looking for him, and Madison finds the bed where Nick woke up in a book which belonged to him. She picks it up and finds a needle inside. It says, "Come away now, Angel, come away," and Travis whispers to a shaken Madison, "There's one more stop before home." So the two stop at Nick's friend Cal's house in search of Nick, and Cal appears to be genuinely concerned and willing to help, but hasn't seen Nick in a while. And Cal says that Nick distanced himself from the group of friends and where the group used to hang out, and Travis calls Chris before going into Cal's house, but gets his voicemail. And elsewhere, because again, we know that Chris is planning on meeting up with Alicia. So basically, Nick uses a prepaid phone to call somebody. He hides under a bridge, and Alicia waits by the beach for Matt. He's not showing up or responding to her several text message. It's, her text message are like, "Where are you? You better be dead." And when she leaves, a van she walks has the word "Awaken" spray painted onto it. And basically, it's then night, and Travis and Madison are concerned for Nick, and Travis says they'll find him. Madison is very pessimistic and isn't sure. She even wants Nick to come home. She doesn't know where he is. She doesn't even know if he's safe there. So police race by. The couple gets stuck in traffic as the conversation about Nick continues, and Travis tells Madison to call Alicia to try to get her to eat something, and another cop races on bike. This time, Travis and Madison look on from outside the car as a helicopter spotlight tells them to remain in their vehicles. Gunshots ring out. Travis chooses to get back on the highway, and the principal encounters 5 students getting off a school bus and asks the bus driver if he missed a few stops, and he heads into the school and tells 2 officers outside that he hopes he gets their flu shots. And in the school, the teachers looked on at leaked footage of a man latching onto a police officer and eating him. And, of course, we see Madison and we see not Madison, Alicia and her friends watching this, and basically the teachers rule that he must have been traumatized or on drugs. They have very different theories, and the man in the video gets shot multiple times but keeps coming at the cops, and Madison and Travis walk out of the room, and Travis says this is what Nick was describing, and Madison tells Travis to call police. It's the only way to find Nick, and Nick continues to stumble around the streets and trying to get in touch with whoever he's calling. And we see Alicia and her two friends, they're looking at this footage, and Alicia acknowledges that her parents were there, and the teacher asks if she'll have to confiscate the phones. The girls watch the man get shot and continue attacking until being shot in the head, to which a friend says, "Kill shot bitch." And Matt is still not texting Alicia, and the principal comes over the loudspeaker and announces school will only be a half day today, and Madison tells Alicia, get on the bus, go home. People are more concerned about the shooting, and she needs to be home if he comes back, and Travis escorts Madison out of the school in a hurry, and students get on the buses, and Tobias looks at Madison from his seat with a real "I told you so," and I love that look that he gives Madison, because he obviously knows what's going on when she didn't believe him, and now definitely she's starting to believe him. So Nick enters a restaurant and goes to sit with Cal, and Nick starts with apologies, and Cal tells him to sit. It's not acceptable for Nick's parents to show up looking for him, and according to Cal, Nick pleads with Cal, explaining he would never tell anyone what Cal does, and Cal then offers Nick food, but Nick doesn't want any. He only wants to know what Cal gave him, because obviously he doesn't know if he was hallucinating or if he really saw this, and he wants to know if he was hallucinating at the church, and he explains that Gloria killed two people, but Cal says Nick isn't making any sense, and Nick tries to leave, but Cal won't let him. Cal tries to be very brotherly and offers Nick another fix, which has Nick hooked, and even though it seems that Cal cares for Nick, he definitely is addicted to whatever drugs he's taking. So Nick and Cal pull up to the aqueduct, and Cal opens the trunk while Nick is under the impression he'll be getting high, but when Cal comes around to Nick's passenger door, he sees that Cal has a gun. As Cal tells Nick to get out of the car, Nick fights him, ultimately shoots him in the stomach, and Nick watches Cal's body go limp and quietly calls out, "Hey, Cal," before rolling the lifeless body and seeing the bullet wound, and he runs away, and he basically thought he killed him. I mean, he basically did, and I thought that was pretty crazy that we saw that. So he pretty much thinks that he killed him there. So Travis and Madison find Nick on the side of the road. Nick tells Travis that he said not to bring her, and Nick whispers that he did a bad thing and it's not okay, and he explains what happened with Calvin. He says he shot Calvin and he killed he shot Cal and he killed him, and he admits, and Madison wants to know where, and Nick points and the three start, and in Travis's truck to Cal's body, Travis and Madison try to figure out how they're going to protect Nick and, cover this up, obviously. And Travis tells Madison whatever happened, it was all self-defense. And the three park at the end of the aqueduct and find Cal's car, and the passenger side door is still open, but there's no one there. And the gun is still under the car, and Nick can't fathom what's going on. He breaks down his mom's arms, and Nick, Travis, and Madison get into the pickup truck, back up out of the aqueduct, and Travis sees Cal walking toward them. Madison and Travis get out, approach him despite Nick's intense warning not to. He sees the massive amount of blood on his shorts. He tries to bite Travis, so Travis fights him off long enough for Nick to back the pickup truck over him, and I thought that was awesome. So despite the massive impact of the truck, Cal rises up again because he's a zombie. He's obviously, a truck's not going to do anything. So Nick floors it into drive, slams it into Cal, and launches him down to the aqueduct, and Travis, Madison, and Nick look on and see that Cal's body is still moving, and Madison asks what's happening. Travis says he has no idea, and that's how the episode ends. And I thought that was a fantastic ending. You can tell this is getting more and more serious. It's starting to happen to more and more people, and I really love that. So overall, guys, I thought this was a fantastic premiere. I really loved it. I love where the show is going, but I definitely do want to talk about a few things. First of all, a lot of people are saying this is going to be the show where we find out how the, virus actually happened. Now, we don't know, but I feel like definitely we are going to get that answer. And I think that definitely is going to be very interesting if we do get that answer, because I'd love to see where that's going, and that's going to be very interesting too. So you can definitely tell that this virus is starting to get very serious, and you can tell that Madison and Travis don't really understand what's going on. They just know that something is happening, and it's not really something they can comprehend, because obviously they're not used to this. It's not normal. It's completely irrational, and I like seeing that. I think that definitely is very interesting. So how is this happening? Because it seemed like Cal just turned into this zombie. So obviously There has to be a reason why this is happening, and I feel like this show is finally going to give us that answer, because what is the one thing we've wanted to know on this entire show is how the hell has this been happening? And I think finally we're going to get that answer. Now let's talk about Nick. Nick and Travis are in a very interesting situation right now, because Travis obviously feels close to Chris, but Chris wants nothing to do with him. Do you think that Travis actually, I think Travis does care about Nick, but do you think he's just trying to bond with Nick because he doesn't have that from Chris and he wishes he does? I think that overall is very interesting. I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. I really do like that storyline. I think that definitely is very interesting. So, let's talk about, are they going to be able to cover up Cal's murder? Obviously, Cal is a zombie right now, so we'll have to see what happens with that. What is going on with Alicia and Matt? Why did Matt stand her up? Where did he go? I kind of feel like Matt's going to turn into a zombie. I don't see things ending well for him, so we'll have to see where that ends up going. That's going to be very interesting. I don't see things going well for Alicia and Matt at all. I don't see that going well. So, I really like seeing, though, the thing I think they're doing very well in the show is seeing all these characters, not understanding that these are walkers, and the thing that's going on there, I think is just very, very interesting. I really do like seeing that, I have to say. Really interesting stuff there. So, let's get more into this show. I really do want to talk about what I love about the show. First of all, the acting in the show is fantastic. I think everyone really does a great job. Kim Dickens as Madison, as well as Cliff Curtis as Travis, really are both fantastic. They do things that I think we haven't seen from the other characters, and that they still have humanity, and that their main concern is not just to survive, but to figure out what's going on. And I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen with their characters. I really like them. Frank Dillion as Nick is amazing. I love Nick's character. I love that he's trying to get away from drugs, and now he's kind of caught up in everything, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with all this. Plus, he doesn't know if he's going crazy or if this is actually happening to him. He's a very interesting character, and kind of is giving something to this show that we haven't seen before. Alycia Debnam-Carey is Alicia. I will admit, she is very, very hot. I will definitely admit that. But she's also a very good character. I like how she's very focused on school, and is kind of like getting senioritis, and is also very concerned about her family. She kind of wants to get away from them, though, which I like seeing, and I think that definitely is very interesting. Lorenzo James Henry as Chris. We didn't see much of him in this episode, but I definitely feel he's going to be a very interesting character, as well as Elizabeth Rodriguez as Lisa. I like her character. Now, there are 3 characters that we have yet to meet, and that is the Salazar family. We have not met them yet, but I heard they're just as essential as our 4 main leads are, so we'll have to see where that goes. That's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with that storyline, because I'm wondering what's going to happen with that. Now, is Chris going to be forced to go with Travis? I feel like there's going to be a point where they're just not safe, and Chris and what's her name? I can't remember her name now. Sorry, what is her name? Lisa. Chris and Lisa, they're going to have to go with him. I definitely see that being a situation, and we'll have to see where that goes. That's going to be very interesting. But overall, guys, I really am loving this show so far. I can't wait to see where the show goes. There's some very interesting things going on in this show. There's a lot of things that, a lot of the show that I like, so far at least, there's a lot of things that we, the audience, know, but they don't, and I definitely like seeing that. I cannot wait for the next 5 episodes. I love how this is 6 episodes like the first season was, and how the second season's going to be 16 episodes like all the other seasons have, which I definitely like seeing. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this premiere. Did you, do you enjoy it? Do you like it as much as The Walking Dead? I'm not going to compare, because it's a very different kind of show, and I definitely like seeing that. I like that it's kind of its own thing. It is in the same universe, but it definitely is its own thing, and I like seeing that. So that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for, I think, a movie review. I think so, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.